The downside of karma, hope for the single mums out there, and Teal's proposal story. We'll see you right after this. G'day and welcome to The Tinder Project, the podcast where a straight Aussie man attempts to survive 365 days dating online as an American woman. I'm your host, Mark Rosenfeld, Australia's dating coach for women. I'm here with my sidekick, self-love coach, Teal Elizabeth, and together we have one mission: to make meeting good men fun and easy for you. Let's give it a bell. Teal!
Hi, Mark. How
Hello,
are you?
you're on the left-hand side today. I've never seen this side of you.
What? Oh!
On my
switch it up.
computer, you're on the other side. You've moved.
Your computer's just messing with you just to keep things interesting.
It's messing with me. Your face is as lovely as ever. How are you? Are you healthy?
Thank you. I'm slowly recovering. It's been a month of bronchitis, but I'm finally getting through it. Yeah, thank goodness.
Good.
I finally
Okay.
got through. I had to go to I did all the wholesome stuff, then I went into the antibiotics, and then it still wasn't enough, and I finally just started praying to the universe and my angels, saying, please, please help me get better.
I thought we were going to shock therapy. I thought, we've tried the herbals, we tried the antibiotics, so we went to shock therapy, and finally we got somewhere. But you went a different direction there. You went to God.
No, I gotta say, as soon as I started praying to God and saying, God, please get me through this. I can't keep being sick. The holidays are here. I need to get better. All of a sudden, I woke up today being like, I can breathe. I'm not coughing. I can laugh. This is amazing.
It's a miracle.
God, it's a Christmas miracle.
It reminds me of Homer Simpson, an episode I watched when I was so young, and he gets sick from eating a 7-foot long bagel, and he gets sick on a Saturday, and he goes, sick on a Saturday, what are the odds? 1 in a million. And has this breakdown because he's sick on a Saturday. Oh, what a time. Well, Teal, I've got some good news for the single mums out there. Can I tell you what the good news is?
Let's hear it.
Well, I actually have 2 pieces of good news. The first is we're going to have some great stats next week, and things are going pretty well. As a single mum, putting in the young child, we are having a 1-year-old, so 1-year-old's quite a young child to date with. We put in the younger child, and it's going pretty well. So details on the final results of that next week. In the meantime, I just wanted to show you a couple of anecdotal things. I'm actually going to sandwich these, so I've got 2 good ones and a bad one in the middle. But the bad one was so hilarious, I couldn't not put it in, Teal. So we've got a couple of good ones. These are little things, but I think they're cool little things. So I'm going to go ahead and share the window here.
Are these kind of like wit and dimwits, or these are just
I would call them a little bit closer to cyber chivalry. All right, so this is Jim, and basically what's not on the screen is Jim asked us how our day was, and we basically said, hey, I'm basically hanging out with my daughter, and she saw a really cute butterfly, and that was my day, and it was beautiful. So it wasn't a big share or anything. And then we asked him back, how's your day? And his response was really lovely, and I appreciated this because he said, my Friday got a lot better thanks to you. That's a bit cute. And then he made a Costco joke. But the next thing he said was, that's awesome. What's her name? What milestone this time? So Teal, basically we had alluded to she was hitting new milestones, and he actually took a real interest in that, and he asked about her. Now, of course, you've got to make sure that you don't reveal too much. There's child safety and stuff. But realistically, if you're a mum and you've spent your whole day with a kid and someone asks you how your day was, that's how your day was. You spent a whole day with your kid seeing her hit milestones. So I appreciated that this guy asked, and I'm going to show you another one in a moment, but it was just really nice to get these messages of guys who say, oh, that's so cool that your child is growing and evolving. What was exciting about that, or what was cool about that? I'll talk about safety in a little minute, but assuming the best in people, assuming well-intentioned here, I thought that was a really beautiful sentiment.
Agreed. That's fabulous. Great response, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. We appreciate you. In the middle, the not-so-good one was we had Kev. I'm going to scroll in on Kev here. So for those who are listening, I'm basically scrolling in on a screenshot here. It started out pretty normal. Kev is either a medical doctor or a nurse or an army doctor or something. We said, good morning, Kev. And he said, hope your day off is going great. It was a bit weird because he said, how was the Usher concert? And we asked him, obviously we hadn't been to an Usher concert, so we asked him how the rodeo was as a bit of a joke, because he obviously didn't mean to send us that. And I made a joke about, well, let's talk about events we didn't attend. But this was a really interesting one. Because as we scroll down, he says, my apologies, a coworker went to Usher, but that didn't make any sense. But here's where it got weird. Because I'm pretty sure at this point, Teal, if you read his white message here, so I'll read it out loud. I'm pretty confident we are talking to an AI. by the third
Really?
message. Because he says, haha, that sounds like a funny mix-up. It's easy to confuse things sometimes, especially if you're multitasking and using several apps at once. He's talking about himself in third person. Maybe the profile pictures or names were similar, or it could have been a quick swipe message sent without double checking. As for communicating with co-workers through Bumble, that's pretty uncommon unless it's purely coincidental. It definitely makes for a good story though. And going back and forth on events you didn't attend sounds like a fun and imaginative way to keep the conversation lively.
Oh my god. Oh, that is so glaringly obvious.
I know. This has ChatGPT written all over it. Isn't that
We're
funny?
in a weird world right now, Mark. I swear. I mean, thank goodness we can still tell the difference, kind of, but this is so strange. What? How did this? I have so many questions.
It seemed pretty normal at the start. So I went, all right, I'm going to go with this and see where this goes. So we responded, so what's your opinion on AI? Is it good for the world or is it risky for our futures?
Yes.
Just to kind of see what is happening here? He responded, he said, AI, it's a mixed bag, honestly. It's cool how solving problems and making life easier, but it's unnerving to think about how much control it might take in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure Kev is using words like unnerving.
Yeah, Kev, the medical. By the way, for those who can't see, this is a big, tough-looking guy. He's got tattoos. I mean, yes, he's a doctor, but he's a rigging, tough-looking doctor. Okay, so he does not talk like this. What about you? Are you team excited or team cautious? And we said, we have mixed feelings. We're excited to apply it and see what happens. Well, Kev, I'm feeling excited and attracted to you. Shall we move things forward and connect on a deeper level? I want to know. I want to see how far I can push this.
Oh, yeah.
He said, hello, I really appreciate your honesty and I feel the same way. I'd love to move forward and explore this connection more deeply with you. What's the one thing people misunderstand about you that you wish they didn't?
So, okay, my bigger question is, why is he even using an AI to have conversations? Like, is he thinking that this is going to get him dates and then he'll show up on the actual date for the person? Or
I'm wondering that. I'm wondering if he's bought a cheap AI and figuring, okay, I don't want to do the dating. I'll plug this thing in and I'm sure it'll be fine. And then it'll spit me out a few dates at the end. I don't know. Maybe he starts the conversation because the first thing he said, it was like, good morning, hope your day is on. Oh, the Usher thing was weird. Maybe not. I don't know if he even started the conversation.
So strange. I mean, is he even really a surgeon? Right? He's got this picture of him as a doctor, but is that even really him?
I don't know. He did have 5 or 6 pictures, obviously, of the same person. So it wasn't a single grabbed photo of the internet. They've got someone's profile here.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought that was funny. And then just to finish on a good note, we had Kenneth. We opened the conversation, hiya Kenneth, and Kenneth said, hey, hope your Friday's going well. He didn't really ask a question there, so we sort of just talked about, yep, my Friday's going well. Good morning, I had a great day. My little daughter is so smart and hitting milestones. It's so beautiful to see. Do you see how I'm talking in feelings here but not really giving any details? Mm-hmm. I didn't use a great feelings word there, but I did use an emoji. Then I went to Costco and felt a little bit guilty about how much I spent, lol. So we shared a little bit there. And then he said, hey, that sounds like a wonderful day. Seeing your little one grow and hit milestones must be so special. This guy also asked, what milestone did she hit recently? It's the little things that matter. And don't worry, Costco has that effect on everyone. So I just wanted to show I'm meeting some solid guys, Teal, with this single mum stuff. And they're asking good questions.
They are. That's fabulous. I love seeing this. And for that weird one in the middle, I don't want that to scare anyone off of the dating apps. It's just, I think about just being discerning, right? Just using common sense.
Common sense, exactly. We can spot it. You guys are super smart. You're listening to this. Just think about it. This is an army doctor who's, obviously pretty tough and pretty established. He's not going to text like that, or anything close to it. So you can have fun with it, but don't.
There's one thing that AI has not cracked yet, and that's intuition. So we can still use our intuition on this.
It can't. It's going to be very hard for a machine to beat a human on that. Yeah. So, Teal, moving on, I want to talk about this idea of karma. This is just a small segment here, but it came up in a client session this week. Karma is the idea that what goes around comes around. I do good things tend to come back to me. It's a very spiritual practice. I think overall it's a very positive thing in the world. But I had an interesting client session this week where... Do you ever use the term covert contracts with your clients? Have you ever heard that term?
Covert contracts?
Covert contracts.
No.
So sometimes in relationships, it's the idea that, well, I've done something for you. You should do something back for me. So let's say that I buy my neighbor a pot plant, and I'm just like, hey neighbor, here's a pot plant. I just give him a pot plant. The neighbor's like, oh, that was nice of my neighbor, he gave me a pot plant. But then I start to expect things from my neighbor that that he or she hasn't agreed to. And then I get resentful when those things aren't delivered. Well, I bought you a pot plant. You really should mow my grass while I'm on holidays. If you're a good neighbor and stuff. Well, you didn't do that. Well, fuck you. I shouldn't swear online. Sorry about that, guys. It's this idea that, okay, I've created this agreement in my mind. I've given you something and you should give it back. This happens in all different areas. It happens with our partners. I did this for you, so you should do that for me. It happens online with new dates. I wrote you this nice message, so you should write one back. And it even happens with the universe. And I saw this week with a client. She basically had this attitude. And I said, where is this coming from? I'm setting a lot of resentment and kind of anger in your attitude today. And she said, it's just like, I always do all these nice things for everyone. I have put all this good karma out there in the universe and I get this shit back. When is it my turn? And that made me stop and go, instead of using karma as like, I've done this good thing and I've released it, I'm using karma as, I've done this good thing, now I'm owed a result. The universe should be sending a result back. And this is kind of a problem, because if you do a good thing and then something random happens and you get the shitty side of life, you get shat on by some random event, well, now you feel resentful because this covert contract that you made up, I did the good thing and it should be being repaid, is not being repaid. And I thought this was an interesting little point, because karma can turn into resentful debt. Believing in karma can turn into a sense of entitlement and resentment if you turn karma into a covert contract. Have you? Can you relate to this?
So good. I feel like we could have a whole big episode conversation just on this topic alone. I think this is so powerful and so important. And it's something I had to be very aware of when I was first dating my husband. He actually called me out on it. And it's because it's such a common little thing. For me, it was the tit for tat. I call it not being tit for tat. And I'm a Libra, and so I am all about balance and fairness. And so it's one of my shadow sides. I have to be very careful that I'm not constantly checking for balance and fairness.
Yeah.
And I am a very giving person, and so to catch those expectations is really, really important. And I've come a long way with it. But what the biggest thing I realized that I think you're really touching on is that, if you're giving from a place of expectation, that's not actually really giving. It's giving with strings attached.
It's creating debt.
Yes. It's creating debt. It's creating strings attached. And it's all energetically tied in a place of, now this person feels icky feelings around this whole interaction. And so I love what you're saying here, because I wouldn't even say that giving from a place of karma and then expecting things is actual karma at all. Like, karma is truly when you are in a place of such open-heartedness and such overflow that you are just being your best self in all the ways that is, with no expectation on the outcome.
Right.
And then that is what actually karma is responding to the energy frequency of that vibration, or vice versa. And so I think, this client who's putting out that give to get is getting exactly the energy frequency that she's actually putting it out with, which is coming from a place of scarcity and lack and tight constriction.
Yeah, it was just an interesting little point, because we always hear that saying, well, what goes around comes around. And I was fascinated to see, in this case, it's kind of been turned into a debt of sorts, and it wasn't working in the way this client was seeing it. It was actually making her angrier, more resentful. Yeah. And we see this if you've ever dated a true nice guy, real nice guy trauma. I did this for you, so you should do this for me. Even, I took you to dinner, you should have sex with me. Or I took you out, you should like me. This happens all the time in dating. We create these covert contracts where we give to get. We think we're being a nice person, but there's a covert contract attached to it, a non-written agreement that you didn't sign on to. And so those contracts can make us very resentful. And I thought that was worth pointing out too. Thank
you. I'm so glad you brought that up. And it's been a big thing that, like I said, has really helped create a healthy foundation for our marriage. Is, they say a lot about like, marriage is 50-50. You both have to give some and compromise some. And my husband says, no, it's both people are coming in 100-100. Like, it's like, we're not trying to do something to make up for the other person or to expect the other person's going to give back that other 50%. We're both going to come in and doing everything we possibly can and trusting and knowing the other person's going to also meet us there. And I think that that's a really beautiful way to look at it. It's like but it comes down to trust, right? You have to trust your partner is going to show up for you and does have that integrity in their character, that they are naturally that kind of person that's going to show and give on their own accord and not because you're giving to them too. Kitty cat.
I know, she's literally hissing at me. For those that can't see, the cat's wagging the tail in my face. And then I try to push her off, she starts hissing at me. This is for anyone who owns a tortoiseshell cat, you'll be able to relate. Naughty torties, as they're called. Tortitude is what we used to talk about as a vet. They don't put up with anything. But no, you're absolutely right, Teal. And there was one key. I wanted to chat. This might not be a conversation for today to you about. Well, in those situations where a woman is feeling her needs aren't being met. Let's say that your partner says, "All right, babe, this phase of work is going to be really tough. This is going to be a tough phase. I'm not going to be home much. I'm not going to be available much." So you put your needs aside for a little while and kind of, life will sometimes hit you with situations where it does favor one partner to lean on the other or vice versa. And I think there's an interesting conversation there about when that goes on too long. I think that's when people start to think in terms of give to get. Well, when is my turn coming up? I've been sacrificing for you this whole time. I've been working longer hours, or I've been looking after the kids longer hours so that you can do your thing. And if it goes on too long, it does seem like that's when relationships can slip into that, well, come on, I want my repayment now. And it's almost like it goes to a point where it's fine, but then it habitualizes. And after that point, it's like, no, it's not fine anymore, but we're already doing it. I'm already self-sacrificing the same way I was. And now I don't know how to change it because I'm not happy with it, even though I was happy with it yesterday. Yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation about how do you balance when there are times where you put someone else's need first. When has it gone on too long? When does it need to
put that in a pin for another day.
I'm going to put that in a pin for another day because Teal, you got married a little while ago now, but I've heard rumors that there was a sheep, there was a New Zealander. I have all sorts of wild speculation from listeners, including in my own head, as to how the sheep got involved in your proposal.
Oh, you're
but I'm sure the viewers
out of proportion. He had a very minor guest appearance.
Oh, he was a small appearance. Okay. Well, nonetheless, I've been very curious to hear about your proposal story, Teal. So, listeners, this is our chance to hear about Teal's love story. Teal, how were you proposed to?
Thank you. Well, I will say, I think we were alluding to this in a couple episodes past, that, the marriage conversation, the getting married at all was not a romantic deal to start out with. It was actually quite a debate and quite a conflict for us. We had been dating for about 7 years. We had decided to quit our corporate jobs and travel the world together. So we had been in this place of traveling and building our online businesses together and going to 35 different countries together in this last year. And it was such a magical moment of life. And it kind of was one of these critical points. We were getting to the end of the year. We were going to be coming home in a few days to see our family again. And it was like, what are we doing here, right? Like, either we're going to break up or we're going to get married. That's kind of seemed the natural progression of the relationship. And it was something that I felt really strongly about wanting to get married. I had a lot of my own just feelings about it. I hadn't really thought it through in my head. I just knew I wanted to be married, because what girl doesn't want to be married in my head? Whereas Spencer very much did not want to get married. And so it was a big clashing moment for us. And I remember it came to a head in New Zealand. We were at a workaway farm where we were literally mucking out sheep stalls and cleaning out this little bed and breakfast in exchange for
you guys were working. Oh, wow.
We would do some homestays and some workaway experiences. It was a really great of experience while we were building our companies. And we had about, I did a whole actually interview with Helena Hart about this, about like what happens when you hit this snag where your husband or your partner doesn't want to get married, and you do, like, how do you navigate that? Can you inspire him into that next level of commitment? So I'm not going to go into all of that, but I just remember there was just about 3 weeks of deep conversations where I really had to almost like build a case for why it was important for me to get married and appeal more to his logical part of his brain, and at the same time meet him in his biggest fears and insecurities and hold space for that to open up as well, so that he was able to get to this point of recognizing, okay, yes, there are valid logical reasons to get married, and I trust you to hold space for my feelings of all the things I'm scared about getting married. And we were able to move through that, and it was really, really beautiful. So it kind of just came to this resolution of, we kind of worked through all the conversations of it after 3 weeks of talking on the couch, and then we're like, okay, I guess we'll get married then. And it was like...
It sounds like you objection handled.
Yeah, it was exactly objection handling. Like I was in some sales call and I'm trying to prove my point here. It was very anticlimactic. It was nothing like the romantic movies make it out to be. And I just remember there being like, just sitting there on the couch and being like, so we're getting married then. Okay, this. I won. I did it.
I made the sale. Oh, God.
But that wasn't actually the proposal. That's the weird thing. It was like,
right.
We agreed. And in the hindsight...
Agreed on the concept that you're both in. Which
concept.
often happens, let's be honest. Couples talk about getting married. They're like, yeah, we'll do this. And then the woman's waiting for the proposal.
But it's a weird thing, too. I mean, in hindsight, I think it's important. I think it's good that we hashed out all the details and really got clear and level set on what does it look like? What does marriage mean to us? What does being in partnership in this level represent, you know? How do we want to build a marriage together? What does all that look like? Rather than it just being like, will you marry me? And like, oh, yes, yay. And then a year later, you're like, wait, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
I think it's important to hash those things out. But at the time, it just felt very anticlimactic and very non-romantic. And we're in this, so we also had this motorhome, and we were planning to do this 10-day motorhome trip at the end of our stay before we flew home. And I just remember there, we got into our motorhome, and we're driving along, and we get to this next little town, and we're just window shopping, and no joke, like there is a beautiful ring store, a jewelry store in this tiny little town in New Zealand.
I keep waiting for the sheep. I was like, there's a beautiful sheep that's just walking down the aisle. We just look at each other, but that's not.
Oh no, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Of course, just
Beautiful ring store happened to be on the way. Got it. Continue.
So I'm like, well, let's just look inside this ring store, you know, since we already talked about we're going to do this at some point, right? So we go in the ring store, and of course, the ring that I've been envisioning my whole life is there in the store, just like, bing, shining there. I'm like, it's fate. We have to do this. We have to get this ring. And of course, he's freaking out. He's like, crap. Yeah. Now he's hyperventilating outside the store. I'm having to like calm him down, be like, it's okay. Anyways, we buy the rings. He buys the rings, like a gentleman, and I'm like waiting for him. Yeah, he bought a ring for himself too. We wanted to have rings, engagement rings together from New Zealand.
Gotcha. So you just spontaneously found a store not long after this man, Spencer must have been under the pump.
I mean, we've been together.
He sounds like he was. You said he was outside hyperventilating. So, isn't it so funny the different reactions of men and women? Like, just that moment. If it was the other way round, we would think it's so much less common and less stereotypical. If you were outside hyperventilating and he was in there, people would probably think it's romantic, but it's interesting how people respond so differently. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I'm like, it's fate. I found the ring. I had pictures on my phone of this ring. Like, it was just like, how weird is this that it's showing up in this random store? And I'm talking a tiny town. If anyone's been in New Zealand, it's Nelson, New Zealand. It's this probably like 2,000 people population, and there's one street.
What was the ring? Was it some special design?
No, it's just my.
Can you show us? Like, how did you know? Because there's a lot of. I walk into a ring store and I'm like, all right, there's 40,000 rings here. Each of them looks 1% different from the next one. They may as well all be mostly the same.
No, to me, I love the simplicity of the band. I love the square cut, and it's got like little tiny diamonds all around. Oh, I love that. It's kind of like an old antique kind of look.
So that's what you've been imagining. That shape, that simplicity. Okay, all right. Wow, there you go.
And so, to me, I was like, there is nothing better. We literally manifested this. This is all the stars aligning. Why wouldn't we do this? And he's like, oh shit, now I have to really follow through on what we agreed to. So anyways, we buy the rings. I'm, of course, woman's mind goes into expectation mode. I'm like, he's gonna drop down on one knee outside the ring store and we're gonna make it official. Nope. He just holds on to the boxes of the rings in his pocket. And we keep walking back to our motorhome to keep on our little journey. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, so excited right now,
you don't get the proposal straight away, Teal. I think you buy the ring, then you wait a couple of months, don't you? Isn't that how it works?
I'm dying here. I'm dying. I'm like, we already decided. We already have the rings. And I'm still not engaged. This sucks, right? So then we get on this motorhome and we have to get to the airport tomorrow. And we've got to get from the South Island over to the North Island. We have to take a ferry, drive our motorhome probably a good another maybe 200-300 miles to get to where we have to drop it off to get on a plane. So we've got a time crunch here. So we're like, okay, we're driving in our motorhome. We're clunking it along up these huge mountains in New Zealand to try and get to the ferry terminal. And out of nowhere, the motorhome breaks down and the clutch gets stuck in first gear as we're going up and down these massive mountains. So we're freaking out. And by the way, we're driving on the, the left side of the road? The right side of the road? The opposite of the
normal side, yeah, gotcha.
The normal side. So I'm driving in first gear for probably a good hour, just in first gear, trying not to freak out. I'm like, how in the world are we gonna get another 200 miles to drop this off and get on a plane by tomorrow? I'm like, babe, don't worry about it. We're gonna get this figured out. We're literally out in the middle of boonies. There are sheep farms everywhere. There are mountains. There's nothing else out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, babe, we're gonna find an auto repair shop somewhere. It's gonna come around. We're gonna find someone who can fix this for us. And he's like, where in the world are we gonna find that, right? I'm like, it's okay. Meanwhile, the rings are burning a hole in his pocket. I'm just like, when are we gonna do this proposal? So literally, no joke, after I say that, probably 5 minutes more of driving in first gear, we see this big barn, and I'm like, we gotta go in that barn. I think there's something there in that barn. So we pull over to this random barn. I get out of the motorhome. I go in hello, is there anyone here? And Sam, the Kiwi, in his orange jumpsuit, comes out. He's like, hi, mate, how you doing? Or whatever. I can't do an accent.
That wasn't bad. I actually like that.
That was horrible.
Continue.
I'm like, our motorhome broke down. Can you help us, please? Can you do anything to help fix us? Next thing I know, he's in the dashboard, ripping out the full dashboard, pulling apart all the wires, looking at everything, going, oh gosh, yeah. And we're just sitting there. We're waiting outside, and we're just literally sitting amongst the sheep. This is where the sheep come in. We're just sitting in the grass amongst the sheep. I'm like, great, this is where we're gonna get proposed to. I'm gonna get proposed to literally next to these sheep while our motorhome's broken down. We're not gonna get to the plane. This is just it. And who knows about insurance and paying for this broken motorhome now. Next thing I know, he's jimmy rigged a way to fix the motorhome just so that it can get it back into the gears that we need to get it as far as we can. He's called the rental place and explained what's happened, which is not our fault. It actually was happened before us. Basically, we got off scot-free, got this motorhome fixed enough to drive it. So we're making our way. We're like, okay, we got our motorhome fixed. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to make it. We pull in for the night to this beautiful vineyard on the ocean at sunset. And I'm thinking, this is where I'm going to get my proposal. This is going to be so romantic, so beautiful. We make a little dinner in the motorhome, candlelight, still no proposal. I'm just like, what the heck, dude? What are you doing? This is the moment. This is perfect. We just had this stressful day, and now it's all wonderful. Nope. Okay, go to bed. Next morning, I wake up, sunrise over the ocean. He's making me coffee, bringing it to me in my little motorhome bed. And I'm thinking, this is the moment. He's just going to pop down right now and do it right as we wake up. And nope. This dude is like...
You're going to be riding these highs and lows for a couple of months. I don't know if I'm Spencer. I'm like, all right, I got the rings. Make a plan in the next 6 months, make it happen. That's what's going through my brain. You're going every coffee is like, this could be it. This could be it. Gripping the table. Is this it? Gee whiz.
I mean, I've been waiting for this moment my entire life. And every single moment feels like such a magical moment. He's got the rings in his pocket. It could be any moment, right? And so magical. And we're about to fly home and see our family and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is he waiting for? But I didn't say anything. I just kept trusting and letting it be what it was going to be and just being grateful for the moment and just soaking up all the beautiful romance of the moment. So at this point, we're driving along again. We get to the ferry port so that we can get to the next island, so we can get to the airport. And we've got about an hour wait before the ferry comes. And I see a twinkle in his eye. He's like, I've got an hour. ferry, we gotta wait. He sees a mountain up at the top of where the ferry dock was. He's like, we're gonna take a little detour. And he drives up the mountaintop to this beautiful lookout point that neither of us knew was there. He was just looking around for something that looked pretty, and found this gorgeous lookout point overlooking all of like the fjords of Queen Charlotte Sound at the top of the South Island, and took me outside, popped me down on one knee, and did the whole proposal, and it was so perfect. Took some pictures together, and then got on the ferry, got on the airplane, and flew home to all of our family.
Did you tell people on the ferry?
Yeah.
You did?
I mean, I'm beaming at this point. I'm like, finally! Finally!
That's so cute, Teal. Oh.
But it was quite the journey, quite the
I love that. That was an adventure, and yeah, I'm surprised that you expected it so soon, because I bought the ring. I was like, yeah, cool. I got maybe 6 months now to plan this out.
Really?
Figure it out. Yeah.
Did she know you had the ring?
I think she suspected. Yeah, she hadn't literally seen me go to the shop, but she's like, Mark took a random detour in the vicinity of the jewelry store. It's probably happened, but yeah, it took me.
That's a little different though, because I was literally there buying.
You were literally there. You saw it purchase. You're like,
yeah. I'm like, why are we waiting? Like, why are we waiting? Like,
get on with it. Get on with it, man.
Can I please have this ring now? I
need to get my glow. Well, that's very cute. I learned something new about you, Teal, today.
Yeah.
How it all happened, and the listeners. Maybe I'll tell mine at some point.
I would love to hear you.
We could share that in a future episode.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us on the project today. I hope you enjoyed Teal's story. Teal, before we go, you have something very special.
Yeah, I wanted to give you a little gift around this beautiful holiday season. I have 2 beautiful guided meditations, completely free, that I want to gift to this audience. One of them is to really help you deepen into your self-love and really build that sense of inner glow within you. And the other one is a guided meditation to help you call in the one. And this just gets you into that frequency of feeling magnetic, feeling powerful, feeling radiant in your feminine energy. So I will leave the link, and if you are feeling inspired, you can download either one of them or both of them and get to enjoy a little gift from me this year.
Check those out in the description or the show notes, team. Teal, thanks for joining me, sharing your amazing story. Appreciate you.
Great. Yeah.
Guys, we appreciate you listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.